Hello there, young friend. Today is World AIDS Day, so I'm wearing all the little red accessories I can find. And I got a little pin for AVOL, that's AIDS Volunteers of Lexington. This allows me to remind myself through the day to remember, my friends who are living with stigma because they're HIV or AIDS positive. It's an illness that affects the immune system, and it makes it really hard to fight off other diseases. You may know this already, and I apologize if it's patronizing. But it allows me to remember the stigma that those friends face. That's fear and prejudice, against somebody who is sick. People being afraid to touch them or whatever, So that's a stigma that we've all got to overcome, and we got to understand the illness in order to, beat it, and to remember that, 30 years ago, people like me, gay guys, they almost got wiped out by AIDS. There are people a generation older than me who every friend they had died. They were used to going to like coffee shops and clubs and then parades and whatever, and then just one day, everyone they knew was dead or dying. It was a very scary time for people like me. And the disease is still around, but we've made amazing progress. It also reminds me, this red reminds me to remember the people who are not yet impacted by HIV/AIDS and just don't have the, medical coverage to get medicine that could even prevent us from getting it. Because that exists now. There's a medicine that keeps you from catching it. 2 kinds, as far as I know now. And, just because they can't afford to go to the doctor or pay for prescriptions, they are still at risk. And it reminds me to support organizations like AVOL, the AIDS Testing and Resource Center, and they help people find housing and pay their bills and get food. Movable Feast is another organization here in Lexington. It provides meals to people that are terminally ill and their families, their children, their caregivers. It just reminds me to think about those things today, especially during the holiday season. And anyway, it's a little heavy of an introduction there, but I just wanted you to know why I'm all wearing my reds today, and to know that today is an important day. And anyway, thanks for letting me chat that up with you for just a second. If you have any questions that you want to ask me, feel free to. I know that's kind of an awkward follow-up, but if you do have any questions, always know that you can ask me anything. And if I don't know the answer, I'll admit that I don't know the answer, and I will try and find that answer for you. But anyway, thanks for, letting me say that. Maybe if you have a little red pin or a red ribbon or something, you can tie it on your shirt or something today. But, that's entirely up to you. But what we are here for is a chapter of the book. We're on chapter 5. I'm going to try to read quickly because my car is heating up outside as we speak. And there's nothing I can do until it frosty frosts. Excuse me, kitty. Surette would like you to see and hear her. She is a very local kitty. A very needy kitty. And she is my only kitty right now, so she is a little spoiled. I've been giving her wet food since she had some health issues recently. And now when I give her regular food, she hollers at me because it's not delicious, soft, giblets or whatever it is that's in the soft food that she wants. But she can just holler for now. Kitty. Okay, chapter 5. I woke with my heart racing. The inside of my mouth tasted bad, and for a second I thought I might throw up. Sweat beaded my face and neck. I sucked air through my breathing hole, tried to inhale like Dr. Brown had taught me last year. My stomach a big balloon that I filled, counting to 4 as I slowly exhaled. Kitty. All right, sorry. As I slowly exhaled, I was still sickeningly hot, so I threw off my blankets and was relieved to see it was morning and just past dawn. I knew I couldn't get back to sleep, didn't even want to, so I pulled on my jeans and a t-shirt and I went outside to the backyard. It was early enough to still be cool, though you could feel the heat beginning to clench up in the air and the earth just waiting to unfurl. I walked alongside of the house and peered up at the nest. In a low light of dawn, it looked like a giant piece of dead gray fruit. It was definitely bigger than before. It could easily hold a baby. If the baby were all curled up tight like those in the sonogram pictures of a mother's womb. And then my heart started to race again because I was worried that I was going crazy. A baby growing in a wasp nest? The whole rest of the morning I felt like I was sleepwalking. Vanessa made us sandwiches for lunch, and Nicole wanted to eat outside, so we took our plates out to the table. I ate as quickly as possible before the wasp could come and start bothering us, but Nicole's ketchup brought them so fast. Nicole still wanted ketchup with everything. A grilled cheese sandwich, fish sticks, carrot sticks. Yeah, right. And the wasp went crazy for that big red blob on her plate. The yellow jackets kept diving in, and then some of the pale ones showed up and chased those yellow jackets off. 2 landed right on Nicole's plate. She didn't seem bothered. But suddenly, they made me furious. I shooed them off. They swirled around. One veered away, but the other landed back on the table. I grabbed my empty tumbler and lifted it high so I could smash the wasp into goop. "Wait!" said Vanessa, as she took the tumbler from my hand, inverted it, and trapped the wasp underneath. "What's that supposed to do?" I demanded angrily. "It'll just come back when you let it go." Inside the tumbler, the wasp angrily bashed itself against the sides. "I'm not letting it go," she said. "I want to show it to my professor. Maybe she'll know what kind it is." Vanessa found an old margarine tub from our recycling bin, stabbed some holes in the lid with a steak knife, and skillfully transferred the wasp into it. She sealed the lid tight. "There we go," she said. I didn't want to dream about them again. I worried that it meant I was going crazy, but that very night I ended up in the cave anyway. Not as much light was coming through the walls now. They looked thicker, more fibrous. When I peered down from my ledge, I saw that the cave tapered inward, and the circle of light at the center was smaller than last time. I didn't want to be here. I willed myself awake. I told myself it was a dream, and that I was bored of it, and I wanted out. But I went nowhere. I turned. Behind me, in the tough, papery wall, was a tunnel, big enough to crawl through. But before I could even bend to peer into it properly, I felt a soft filament caress me on the back of my head. Despite myself, my body relaxed. A big breath seeped into my lungs. My shoulders dropped, and I turned to face the Queen. "You were upset after our last conversation," she said.
You were upset all day."
"You're not an angel," I said. "You're just a wasp."
"Well, I prefer angel, but wasp is acceptable too, if that's what makes the most sense to you. Names are just names. They really don't mean anything in the end."
I didn't understand what she meant by that. It was like something from a textbook that I wasn't smart enough to understand yet. I looked at her closely. Even in the dimmer light, I could see her face more clearly, and it was unmistakably a wasp's. What I had thought was a silvery nose was a diamond of pigment. As for the sideways mouth, I'd been very wrong. It was a vertical gap between a set of mandibles, and as I looked, they parted sideways just a little like pincers, and they were very sharp-edged. Amazingly, I didn't feel scared of her. I was allergic and was in front of the biggest wasp, but I sensed instinctively that she didn't mean me any harm. And anyway, wasn't this just a dream? I looked to the top of the fine whisked head. I looked to the top of her fine whisked head at that snaky antenna that bridged the gap between us. "This is how we talk, isn't it?" I asked. "You touch one to me, and we understand each other."
"In part, yes, but also because I stung you."
My body had a quick, nauseating memory. "That was you?"
"Indeed. I needed a bit of you in me and a bit of me in you. It was you that I wanted to talk to."
"Why?"
"Young people are so much more open-minded. Your brains are so beautifully honest and accepting and supple."
"I'm allergic, you know."
"I do apologize."
"So that's you in the nest on our house?"
"That's my nest."
"You're the queen." Just a hint of pride in her voice.
"That would be me."
"And where am I now?" I said, looking around. "This is the nest, isn't it?"
"Right again."
"It's a real place, but I thought—"
"What did you think?"
that I dreamt you."
"You are dreaming, but it is also real."
I wasn't sure this made any sense, but how can I fit inside?
"Your dream self can fit into any space,"
she said, as if it were the simplest notion in the world.
"Outside the nest you are big, but inside you are small."
Relief mingled with my astonishment. I wasn't crazy. These dreams weren't imaginary. They were just somehow welded into the real world, like the nest was welded onto our roof.
"We are as real as you are," the Queen said, "including that worker you killed today."
I blinked. "What?" "Oh, no. Our babysitter was just... she caught one in a glass."
"And she took my worker somewhere and killed her so that she could study her."
"How do you know that?"
"I don't consider it kind, do you?"
"Vanessa said that her professor might want to study it.
We have feelings. We have aspirations. We are not just little bugs.
Well, what exactly are you then? She ignored me.
My workers live only for 4 weeks. They are giving their lives for this baby. Your baby. You could be more grateful.
I didn't ask you for this.
Oh, there's such a thing as manners. Imagine you're just doing your business and someone gasses you to death.
Gases? What do you mean?
That's what your babysitter did to my worker. She put her in a little chamber and poisoned her with gas.
It sounds terrible. I'm sorry.
I hope you are.
I didn't know any of this.
It's like murder.
Really, I'm sorry, but it wasn't me.
It's all right. She wasn't very important anyway.
The Queen chuckled.
Practically interchangeable they are. Thousands upon thousands of them to do the work. Anyway, she added cheerfully, let's not let this happen again, shall we?
She made it sound like we were still friends, like I was automatically part of her team.
It's bad for morale, she said. How's your morale? She asked. By the way.
Okay, I said warily. I wasn't sure how much I should be talking to her anymore.
Just okay?
I think so.
Well, we'll change that, won't we? We'll get that all taken care of.
Look, I said, I really don't understand what you're planning.
Of course you do. You are a clever boy.
The whole idea of a baby that you're growing.
Exactly. It's our gift to you. Everyone likes a gift.
Yes, but...
And everyone likes to be thanked for their gifts.
I said nothing.
Oh, well, you will thank us later.
I blurted out, I don't understand any of this, but I don't want you doing anything to the baby.
You haven't seen the baby yet, she replied. We just finished the nest properly today.
I looked around. The place was nothing like the bits Vanessa had shown us the day before. I thought nests were supposed to have rows and rows of cells.
Well, this one is different. It has just one cell for just one egg. The entire nest is devoted to your new baby. That's all we will ever grow here. And look, the eggs just hatched. See up there?
I looked, and I could see. At the very top of the dim cave, a pale blob. I squinted. I can't really...
I'll fly you up. Just to hold on.
And before I could object, her antennae wrapped themselves around me and lifted me atop her head. Wings whirring, she darted off the ledge. Instinctively, I shut my eyes tight, expecting this horrible amusement park plunge, but I wasn't falling, just rising. My fear dissolved, and I opened my eyes, and I wanted to shout with exhilaration. After a few seconds, we reached the top of the nest. Glued to the ceiling was a pasty slug-like creature.
That's our little darling,
said the Queen proudly. It was slimy, with 2 little black dots sunk into the front end of its soggy body. And underneath its mouth was a kind of hole, and it was eating. All around it, stuck to the nest ceiling, were insects, a dead spider, headless bees, and other things I didn't recognize, but there was a bit of something red that looked like it had hair on it. It's disgusting, I said.
No, it's just a larva. It's just starting.
I don't want to look at it. And for the first time, the Queen's voice was harsh. It came like a clicking sound, like fingernails scratching at one another, which I realized were her mandibles opening and closing.
Shame on you! You shouldn't judge by appearances. I imagine you didn't look very appetizing when you were conceived and growing in your mother's womb.
I was still being held by her antenna, floating through the air, circling the larva. I want you to stop, I said.
What on earth are you suggesting? She said, clicking away angrily. That we harm the baby?
I just want all of this to stop, I repeated.
Oh, that's quite impossible, now that we have started.
I'm waking up now.
Only when I say so,
said the Queen. Her antenna released me, and she tipped me off her head. With a surge of terror, I fell away from the larva baby, down through the nest. I woke with a jerk in my bed. My blanket was on the floor, as if someone had yanked it off of me. That wasp you caught yesterday? I said to Vanessa when she arrived in the morning. Her eyes lit up with excitement. Oh, I was going to tell you guys about it. Did you kill it? Oh. She looked a bit surprised by the question. Her clothes smelled mustier than usual. Well, yes, in a killing jar. That's how we get all of our specimens, Stephen. We just put them in a little jar with a little ethyl acetate, and it's like nail polish remover, and it just knocks them out. Kills them. She nodded, looking at me uncertainly. Does this upset you? I thought that you hated wasp. Yeah, I do. And it wasn't the fact that she killed it. It was the fact that I already knew because of my dream wasp, the Queen. She told me. Another awesome illustration. It's the killing jar with the wasp inside. Are you okay? She asked. Uh-huh. So, what kind of wasp is it? Her face got all eager again. I still don't know. My professor wasn't there, but I showed it around to some of the other people in the lab, and nobody could identify it. I said maybe it's just some kind of albino, but no one had ever heard of an albino wasp, so I felt a familiar prickle of electricity start in my upper back, threatening to radiate out of my arms. Really? She nodded. And the more I look at it, it's like there's something strange about its structure. Its body? Yeah, she frowned. The proportions of the head, thorax, and abdomen, and some of the other little connective structures, they're just not like other wasps. For a moment, I stopped hearing her because my heart was beating in my ears, and I felt the day's heat hard on my face. It might not even be a wasp, Vanessa was saying. What is it then? I asked, and I guessed I must have sounded panicky because she looked at me strange again. Well, we'll just see what my professor says. The doctor said it was a wasp, I said. He said I had a wasp sting. Well, lots of things sting. I mean, I'm just an undergrad, Stephen. I don't know much about insects at all, but it might be a new species or just a variation that's not been noted around here before. We'll see. And that's the end of chapter 5. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I hope you enjoyed this chapter of The Nest. It's a good book, huh? I'm really enjoying it. I'm really invested now. I was invested from the part where she said, "We're growing it now." Ooh, that creeped me out. Okay, well, I hope you're enjoying it. Bye.